Welcome back, College Deadlock fans. We are here with a very special match here in Week 5 with two of our Division 1 teams, with University of Nebraska-Lincoln versus the University of Toronto. I'm Sorin Marcotte. I'm joined tonight by Spafflez. Spafflez, any thoughts about this upcoming match?
I mean, I'm incredibly excited for it. U of T and Nebraska, they have been, longtime scrim partners. They've both, been one of some of the longest standing teams in the Deadlock Collegiate scene, and seeing them finally get to face off against each other, it's going to be big.
Definitely. These are two of my personal favorite teams to watch just because I know the players a little better, and so it's great to see them come together. And is this, I think we were talking back screen, is this their first competitive matchup outside of scrims?
Yeah, so, these teams are very, familiar with the way the others play. They know what they like to do, what they don't like to do. But seeing them come into the competitive scene here against each other, I'm interested in seeing, do they have some sort of pocket pick, something they've been hiding away from their scrim partners, and seeing, where we can innovate with a new patch and all that.
Well, just taking a look at the rosters here for University of Nebraska-Lincoln tonight, both these rosters have 8 players total listed, so they'll have to bench 2, but for UNL it's going to be Shromo, Cloud, Arctic, Neptic, Sometime, and Woody Seth. Meanwhile, over on the University of Toronto side, representing Canada tonight, we have Styler, Dreamlion 333, Misclicked, Big Fat B, Johnny, and Fractal. And from looking at their rosters, they have pretty well-rounded teams, both of them.
Yeah. Both of these teams are rolling out, obviously, with their dedicated support players, their carries, so they even have some of their frontline. And there has been a big shakeup in the terms of the characters that most of these people want to play with the recent patches, especially with that surprise hotfix last night where we saw Paradox getting some pretty major buffs and adjustments, as well as Wraith getting tuned down just a smidge, just a tiny bit. But I do still expect to see both of them here tonight. But yeah, Sorin, from your side, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to just seeing these players, come out and give it their best, because I think these two teams are pretty evenly matched. Yep. So we'll just have to see how that is. But before we get into the full match, we actually have a special thing tonight, because there was a bit of an error in the coin flip. We've got a 1v1 coming in to decide which side comes in. So Deadlock Night Shift is not the only one who has copyright on this. We don't have their beautiful skins, of course, but we do have these players. This will be Cloud versus Misclicked here in the Mo 1v1. See how it goes.
All right. If you ever swing by the University of Toronto Pugs Nights, this might be a little familiar to you. They've been doing some wild and wacky things. I think there was a Bebop 4v4 not too long ago. So, coming in here with a little bit of practice, we have Cloud just rushing in deep, Misclicked, using that parry early, lots of baits coming through, playing around that little high ground, and you are going to see just some quick melee trades to start off with. Misclicked taking a little bit more damage here from that trade.
I wonder if there's like a gentleman's agreement here not to heavy melee, because I've only seen lights even after a parry has been baited. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. There's been some cheeky heavy melees. I think both of these players, they kind of want to play it a bit on the safer side, though.
Yes. Kind of slow here, but very mirrored overall, as you said. Misclicked going pretty low.
Oh,
and there we go. There's the first parry. Misclicked in a world of trouble now. Oh, and the double parry.
Oh,
that's it.
That's just bad manners. That's BM right there.
It always seems to go that way. Like, and I'm just on Night Shift and now here as well. Like, you'll get the first parry and then the second one immediately after. Like, I think someone would have learned by now. But hey. Well played there to Cloud from University of Nebraska-Lincoln. They'll get the choice of whether they want to get the first pick or the first double pick of the draft, which we'll have in just a few minutes once they get that set up. But in the meantime, I want to have you talk to me a little bit more about the University of Toronto roster, because I know that you're a little bit more familiar with them than I am. So is there any particular insight that you have around what they want to do tonight?
No, I mean, there's a lot of different things, a lot of different angles that they could take with this. I do know that, Johnny has been sort of put themselves into that support role primarily, but does also have a very capable Paradox, has a very strong Ivy especially. So those are some characters that we can see come out, especially I can't hammer this home enough, but I really do want to see a really big multi-swap. I think that would be incredible, and especially with like the damage buffs coming back through, I think that would be great. When we look at the rest of the roster, though, it's mostly business as usual. The next biggest impact, I would say, is we have Dreamlion, who lost their signature Shiv. Shiv is still technically playable, but down a stamina, down a point and click, it's going to be hard to make that work. And then you're also nerfing the Abrams, or it's more of a readjustment, but I'm going to call it a nerf because it takes away some of the big power points he used to have. You're going to have a lot of trouble finding a really solid frontliner for UFT to pick up here tonight.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed when I was looking through their picks as well. Is like it seems like they haven't been playing a ton of those classical frontliners that we've seen a lot of in the previous meta. But I mean, this patch just last Friday shook a lot of things up. So I mean, I'm kind of coming into this draft a little bit blind. I was kind of tuning in a little bit to the Deadlock Freak Fest tournament that's been going on today and yesterday, trying to figure out what teams were doing, but it seemed all over the place there as well. I mean, Wraith, as you said,
yep,
super strong. Like, I was playing a match just before this, and like 3 minutes in lane, I got full 1,000 health comboed with just 4 guards.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. She does a lot of damage. I wouldn't be surprised to see her just get banned straight out.
Yeah, there's Wraith, and then there's also Pocket. I've seen so much emphasis getting put on this Pocket with the 100% anti-heal, and of course, because the Affliction is an ultimate, most of the things in the game can't cleanse it. I think the only thing that can is Divine Barrier. So, I don't know. Maybe we see Divine Barrier stacking come back.
Potentially, yeah. Pocket,
yep,
rumored to be one of the big bullies this time. I think that Drifter might be a little bit underrated. Just it's so easy to get stacks now.
Yeah.
With not having to get the final blow. You're not competing with your glass cannon carry for the last hit. It's a little bit easier to get that rolling on into the game, but I haven't seen it picked up a whole lot despite that, so maybe teams just not as eager to go for that sort of a carry. Other heroes that got meaningful buffs, I think, I was hearing a lot of people talking about Calico as well, and there are some good Calico players in these lineups. I think Cloud is the player I'm thinking of on UNL who's just got like a mean Calico.
Yeah, there's Cloud on UNL, and then also on UFT. I've heard rumblings that Fractal might try and snipe it away from him, so we might see some Calico action if it's not banned out, of course. And
yeah, that's...
Sorry. And then when we, look on further, I mean, there's been some pretty cursed tech as well that's been sort of uncovered with the changes to Vindicta, for example. She has that massively increased range on her items. It sort of makes her... you can technically play a support Vindicta playstyle, which I don't think we're going to see tonight. But hey, if that's like sowing the worms in your brain and you want to go try that out later, be my guest.
That's one that I haven't heard of, but I guess I can see why. Like, you're just safe up in the air and you can toss everything down onto your teammates.
Yeah.
Sure. We have seen support Vindicta previously. Saint over on Abraham's occasionally brings it out and we get to see how that goes, but not what I would call meta most of the time. So I'll just have to see what these players want to bring out. Dynamo got some pretty interesting buffs. All right, he got a little bit of gun touch-ups, I think, if I remember right. I gotta find that one in the patch notes.
It was more of a shift than anything because his second ability, the Quantum Entanglements, lost the reload and the bonus fire rates, but then the Stomp did get buffed in that it reduces your enemy's bullet resist by about 20%. So it's a bit of a give and take there. I wouldn't be surprised though to still see Dynamos doing that, headhunter tech at all.
Yeah, it's free headshots if you can land a kinetic pulse, right?
Yep.
Don't even have to aim quite as much as you normally do, so it's gonna be interesting seeing what we got. I'm scrolling through the patch notes trying to find something. Oh yeah, how could we forget about talking about Doorman?
Oh boy,
that's the one that I've been trying to ban out in all of my games, and it never happens. There's always a Doorman regardless, so I don't know who's not banning Doorman right now, but like, if you have one player who can't make it out of the Baroness on 1 or 0 stamina, because that's what you will always be put in there with, he's just gonna have free ults the entire game.
Yeah. And I think another part of that as well is just how much damage those bells do. Completely removing the impact damage just opens an entire new playstyle where you just stack those bells, whether it's somebody that you're waiting for them to come out of the Baroness, or you are just simply, you know, stacking them in a room and waiting for somebody to come by, or like comboing it with your teammate CC. It's just, that character has so much more damage than they previously used to.
Yeah, and I mean, it felt to me that Doorman was pretty balanced before this patch. Like, he was one of those characters that has a really low skill floor and a really high skill ceiling. Because you watch, like, I mean, YouTube has got me on onto a Doorman player, I forget his name, but who just, like, does the door maxing build, and you send them from their walker to your mid walker, and it's like, how can you get away if someone's this good at Doorman? But then now it feels like the skill floor has been raised a good bit, so you can get value out of him a lot easier. But we'll have to see what these teams go for, because I believe the draft is now ready.
All right, let's get into it. You know, big first bans here. I'm definitely expecting to see Wraith getting taken off the board. When it comes to the other OP characters, maybe even a Pocket, because Pocket can just open up so many problems for your comp, although technically you can still work around them. It is going to be a Pocket first ban from UNL.
Yep, there you go, just as you said it. But then, in addition to all the new stuff that we've got that's broken, a lot of the old stuff is as well. Billy, still fairly strong. Silver, Celeste, all still up there, despite, I believe both of them got, like, slight nerfs in this patch. I know the Shining Wonder in particular, which deserved it, got a little bit nerfed. And UNL, first pick Wraith, that's not exactly surprising.
Yeah, especially if the cards end up going in your favor. Wraith is just an absolute menace at all stages of the games now, it feels like. Although, you know, the pretty standard build is still to build your defensive items, build your monster rounds, you know, assist yourself in clearing out those waves and farm up in towards like a really strong mid to late game.
Yeah, and I know that Sometime is also a fairly good Wraith, so that's also going to be a comfort pick for UNL. And then, speaking of comfort picks, the University of Toronto really prioing this Ivy. You were talking about Johnny's got a pretty good one under there.
Yep.
I think that Ivy, at least in my pubs that I've seen so far, has gone pretty underrated, because if you just like stone form or combo with any other form of CC, the Kudzu immobilizing you for like 2 seconds is really hard to deal with.
Yeah, and then, you know, Ivy, she even caught a small micro nerf in the hotfix patch yesterday. So I do think that we're starting to see the repercussions of just how strong the Spirit Ivy playstyle can be. And then we also see the Calico getting brought up from University of Toronto. A bit of a deny onto UNL, but also I feel like I can see the startings, the rumblings of a comp here.
Yeah, just the very beginnings. It's not the kind of start that we would have seen in the previous meta, which is exciting. You know, we had tank meta, Abrams, Billy, Shiv, Yamato, all that for like 8 months. So glad to see that getting shaken up here with the balance patch on Friday. And these teams are going to be fairly new to this as well. Like they've had as much time as URI on this patch, which is under 48 hours, well, like 50 hours in total since the patch dropped. So probably still going to see some old bits of that going on, like Abrams coming in here, as you said. Not really like a hard nerf, just like a side grade to his Spirit sort of play style. So that'll be what UNL decide to go for here, as they got their third pick coming up.
Yeah, the most important thing with Abrams is he still maintains a lot of the tankiness. There's just a lot less damage. And now we see the Paradox as well from UNL. So if any of you have heard out there that, oh, Paradox got gutted, Paradox has been struggling really hard since the patch, a lot of that was surrounding the fact that the wall and the swap had a lot of power taken out of them. They were swapped, or they were changed from just having flat damage with the scaling to % current health damage. And that's always going to struggle, especially when you start to bring people down to low HP, because you do less damage to confirm that kill. But what happened with the reversion yesterday is they added a lot of that power back, so now she does a lot of damage, and also her wall now amplifies all bullets from your teammates going through that. So very, very dangerous.
I haven't seen a lot of Paradoxes do well in my matches, but I think that's just because I've mostly been seeing Echo Shard Bomb Paradoxes, so hopefully that won't be what we see from UNL, or maybe they'll just show all of my teammates, you know, what's actually good with that build. But University of Toronto. gonna go for the Mirage. A bit of the old patch in there for damage. If you can't have Wraith, you might as well have Mirage, who can now teleport anywhere on the map with Traveler. So I thought Traveler was already pretty good if you can use it right. So now it's just, you know, go wherever you like. So
yeah.
Second ban's coming in. Celeste the first one.
All right, Celeste getting banned, of course. You know, it still makes a lot of sense. She did not get grazed that hard by the nerfs, although you could argue that the biggest thing that happened in the patch is a lot of people power crept her. So they brought the floor up a lot higher. So Celeste now has to try harder to perform at least at the same level she was before. And then to circle back a bit about the Mirage, I feel really mixed about those changes because they did take a lot of power out of his Tornado, no longer being that, you know, strong CC tool if he's able to land it. Instead, it's pretty defensively focused now. And on top of that, the Traveler, the ultimate, losing that, all the going into fight bonuses that you would have, like you would have the Unstoppable, you would have bonus fire rate, you would give that to a teammate if you you know, Traveler onto like a Billy or an Abrams or Frontliner, that could be really potent. But now all of that's gone, and what we have left is a really selfish version of Mirage that I do think will perform pretty well in this comp at least.
Yeah, not as much need to support a Calico or an Ivy with those buffs. Losing the fire rate, though, is actually kind of big because, you know, Mirage himself benefits a lot from that. Instead, he gets a barrier as more of a defensive thing, and it's a lot harder to split push with him because you have to Traveler away before the enemy gets there instead of just hoping they can't burst you down while you're in the animation. So that's, you know, gotta play a little bit more careful with the split push Mirage going for the 6v5. And now on the other side of things, the last character that we won't be seeing tonight for sure is Moen Krill, who's been creeping up there as a pick character in the Prio.
Yep.
And if UNL already have a Paradox, might as well ban away one of the other pick heroes for UFT.
Yeah, that is a pretty big deny for UFT. I know that they are very comfortable in the Moen Krill. Not that Moen Krill is the most demanding character just to, you know, pick up and play, but some of those laning patterns, especially that Moen Krill can exhibit, you know, using the Scorn, using the Disable, it just makes it very difficult to, like, move him out of the lane, so it makes sense to see him banned. We do see Yamato pick up, though, for University of Toronto. That's finally some more of that, you know, frontline bruiser-ish type of character getting picked up. And UNL, they lock in the Venator.
Yeah, Yamato coming back in. That's someone I haven't heard a lot about this patch. I'm interested to see how that'll play. And then Venator, one of the couple people that I think got no changes in this patch. I'm looking through it. I've got it open, just like scrolling through, seeing what I can talk about. Yeah, Venator, no changes here. So still going to be kind of strong as a later game carry, but I gotta presume that with Wraith here, you're not really looking to use him as like your ultra late game. Maybe even like a melee Venator. It's always talked about.
Yeah, always talked about. Rarely seen. Though, you know, the Echo Sword gut shot strategy, it just does seem very, very strong, especially with all that extra true damage. We do see Kelvin getting picked up for UNL. Oh boy, where do we start with Kelvin? Kelvin got buffs on buffs on buffs. Not only does the shelter now cleanse, but now he can also target somebody, so he's a lot better at securing those, you know, isolating domes where it's you and another person, and now the game auto targets the dome in between both of you. And then on top of that, his ice grenade also just heals by default now. So lots of big changes to really push Kelvin further into that proper support role.
I literally cheered when I read Frost Grenade no longer has minus 40% stamina regen reduction. And then all of that hope was immediately dashed 2 lines down with tier 2 freezes stamina regen. It's like flat out. It's not even partially going. It's just, no, you're not allowed to have stamina. And look, I have 2 stamina at base. I need it, man. Yeah, Kelvin, even more of a lane bully than he already was. So if you thought that the days of Kelvin being meta because of Ice Dome were over, you know, like for the 2 months there where he wasn't quite as good because of Rem, welcome back, baby.
Oh boy. And there you have it, UFT lock in the Drifter. I mean, you were calling it out before. Drifter had some pretty big significant changes, some adjustments particularly to, the effectiveness of melee items on him, but I do think the buffs that he received far outweighed that.
Yeah, the Eternal Knight, it's really funny, just like at tier 1.
Yeah.
You pop it and suddenly you zoom halfway across the map until you get to the fight at least. And then once you get it leveled up, right, everyone who's hit by it becomes isolated in terms of how Drifter views isolated targets and getting the extra damage against them. So yeah, Drifter with potent teamfight ability as well as just good damage right now. We were seeing Drifter start to climb up in the stocks last patch even before the adjustments, and now I think he got pretty much straight buffs except for what you were talking about, the melee not being quite as effective. You have to get a little closer to hit that with Rend.
Yeah.
So if you just build straight gun, I think you're doing fine. And then finally here for University of Toronto, they will pick up their pick character, and it's a Bebop.
All right. I mean, we've seen U of T play plenty of Bebop before, and it's a pretty staple pick, where characters like Paradox, you have to get a little bit closer range. You got to trade yourself in, so you got to be mindful of where you're going. Bebop will just hook you from extreme distances. You'll just send that out, and he did receive a change during the patch, but I think it's just more for, the funny haha videos and really being really having real use, because it's just the ability to cancel your hook mid-animation. I don't know. Maybe I'm not seeing something.
I think it's kind of good, because there's a lot of targets that you don't really want to hook, but if you just cast it out into a team fight, you don't necessarily determine who you hit unless you're really discerning with your eyes. So if you hook a Victor and you just cancel it, go, nope, never mind, you're good. I think that is value from that change, but that's the only thing he got, is just being able to cancel hook. No even minor adjustments to the rest of his abilities. So yeah, probably going to be Dreamline there on that one for University of Toronto. And then the other side, Nebraska-Lincoln finishing out their draft with a little bit more beef, but also a little bit more damage in the Apollo coming in there for some spirit damage.
Yeah, Apollo, I got hit with the Nerf Hammer again. It was not too severe, right? The ultimate did get nerfed a little bit early, but did receive a little bit of scaling later on to sort of balance things out. But Apollo is still to sit in the same spot where if you are picking him into more of a spirit-heavy comp, you're going to struggle a lot later game when your opponent has Spirit Resilience, a Spellbreaker. It's not just quite going to hit the same. But, overall, looking at the picture these two drafts are painting out, I'm looking forward to this. We got a pretty exciting matchup, and I will say UNL are very, very scary with the heroes they've been able to put together.
Yeah, I'd slightly favor them in this draft as well, between Wraith and Kelvin, and potentially this Paradox coming in. But University of Toronto do have some scary threats of their own, the Calico, the Ivy. I want to see them play a little bit more pick-oriented. They've got good tools for that. Calico, Drifter, Bebop, Ivy can fly in whenever she's needed, whereas University of Nebraska-Lincoln feel a little bit more brawly. Kelvin Domes, Paradox swaps, Atane Losan, Abrams, things like that. So that's what I'm expecting to see play out here, but then, of course, every time we call that, it ends up being the pick team that does all of the engaging. So see how that goes. We get into early lane phase here. Just first wave, not a whole lot special.
Yeah, not too much, even looking at the lane assignments here. We don't have any incredibly strong starting lanes, at least. Nothing too volatile. I'd say the closest thing we have is the Bebop Yamato, but they are going to be playing into your Paradox Venator, so there is a lot of strong neutralizing power on that front, and we even see the Venator, rushing that resto shot, making sure that he stays nice and topped up.
Yeah, mid lane, usually where people focus a lot of that power, right? And then right side over here, we've got the Mirage and the Calico. A lot of Spirit Poke there going up against the Wraith and Kelvin. Kind of your typical M1 and support duo for University of Nebraska-Lincoln. So a lot of emphasis being put here on sometime to just kind of scale up, get that damage, and be the centerpiece for University of Nebraska.
Yeah, we see, just posturing, making sure you get your early tier ones. And, it's going to be a big invade here from the Paradox. What he said, gets the parry onto Yamato, is able to back off like nothing really happened.
Pretty fair trade of health. That power slash was actually really big. Bebop hook onto Venator, gets the kill onto Shromo, and Bodhiseth is 1 HP as well. Got V and Dreamline getting off to an early advantage. They're in that mid lane, and then left side. The only lane that we haven't really talked about here, we got the Apollo, who's going for a bit of a invasive box run, just forcing off that Drifter, and the Abrams against the aforementioned Drifter and Ivy combo. So, I kind of want to see Johnny put in some work in this lane, get some damage down.
Yeah, UFT were aware of Apollo's, mischief, but they're not going to quite be able to do anything about it. Now he's running around back behind their Walker, and with Yamato at 1 HP falling down eventually, there's not really too much this lone Bebop can do to really deny UNL from this aggressive.
No, despite Ivy having a kudzu, not really able to get that wave pushed up. Abrams doing his best. Neftic trying to force away this Ivy.
Yep.
Now the Apollo there as well. And Drifter chose an unfortunate time to start backing away and get some boxes. Ivy's down to half HP, and the wave will be soon pushing up.
Yeah, you can really see those Abram nerfs in action right there. The biggest thing was removing a lot of that stun duration on tier 1 shoulder charge. I'm 100% sure that last patch that Ivy would have been dead and buried, but now she's able to get back, apply the healing right, and continue as it was.
We'll get all that back at tier 2 and more though. We come back here to mid lane. Paradox down to half HP. And
We'll
so
see,
far,
Big Fat B's been finding those really big hooks.
Yeah. It's a shame that they don't have hook bound to the B key, because then they'd be big fat B's, but oh well, you can only get so many good puns into life. Tier 2 shoulder charge on Abrams now unlocked.
Yep, and that's going to give him back a lot of that power that he lost before. It is interesting, seeing just how aggressively the Ivy Drifter lane is trading into the Apollo Abrams, but I'm sure that if you want to do it, it's going to be well before the ultimates start coming online, because Etanolo-san still just does a ton of damage, and before you have any green investment, it's going to execute you from about half HP probably.
That's always been, I think, Etanolo-san's biggest strength. You see a lot of people, even like higher level players, use it more for the curse.
Yeah.
But I think that the execute is the biggest factor about that. But right now, could use an execute here onto this Paradox, who manages to get away, but not before University of Toronto were able to secure the bridge buff. Do lose Big Fat B though. This is now turned into a larger engagement.
Yeah, Woody Seth just got so much damage out with that grenade. Even partially taking the laser beam of death there from Bebop, but was able to escape, get that eventual kill, and yeah, at the very least, that was a buff deny coming out from UFT.
It is, and as you say, Ultimate's starting to come online. Just the first couple of people with him at the moment. Misclick's getting nice and farmed over there on the Mirage at 4.2k. Traveler not the biggest power spike ultimate, but hey, something you can use as Apollo goes down fairly low here. Eternal Might not yet online for Styler, but he'll have that pretty soon if he wants to make something happen.
Yep, looking out onto the middle lane, we see UFT starting to get some of that Guardian damage down, especially as we, start getting closer to 8 minutes, 10 minutes. You're going to start to see Guardians get raised rather fast due to the decaying armor. But, aside from that, there isn't too much action that's happening yet. We do see a big swap coming out, though, into a telekinesis as well. Oh, it does seem like the fight has died out rather fast.
They've got no wave to be able to get in there. It's cleared before they were there. And the mid Guardian is down to about half HP, so there's only so long that Venator can hold on by himself, especially because they went down a little bit early on in lane, thanks to some hooks from Bebop. So now Paradox got to get back here and defend the Venator. Streamline's got the ult. He could go for a big dive here, but decides not to.
Yeah, rather play it safe, preserve that sort of lead that they've started developing in the middle lane. But yeah, now that we're here at 7 minutes, both of these teams are going to be putting a lot of attention onto their tier 2 camps. They're going to, shove the wave, go get that early influx of cash, and start preparing, right? Because in 45 seconds we have our first center spawn.
And that's always a big point of contention, because if you can steal away the enemy centers, that's worth about the same as a wave, so you're effectively creating like 2 waves worth of soul advantage in denying them one and you getting one. So it's always big if you can manage that, but you gotta get the advantage to go there first, and they're trying to find this onto Bebop.
Yep, strong engage there. The time still is really all they needed, and now Dreamline is going to pop the ultimate. Paradox getting dove in on by the Drifter, gets taken down, and that's a juicy bag as well. 500 souls making their way over to UOP.
Big swings, and it looks like that might be the end of this mid Guardian as well. Yeah, but on the other side, it's also going to be UNL going for a Guardian take on the right side, and that's going to be answered by 3 members. As well, UNL getting the turnaround in mid lane. They don't lose the Guardian thanks to Apollo, and then they bring 2 more in to kill Yamato, and the rest of UOT have just kind of backed off.
Yeah, big cross-map plays there as ultimately UNL come away from this pretty victorious. I do think one of the major factors there is just UFT committed way too late to defending that right-hand Guardian. They sent 3 members over, but it was already fallen. UNL already halfway back to their own tower, so there was not really that much risk. Now, UNL looking to make a play here on this left-hand side. The Venator hiding away behind the opposition. And now the Drifter is going to have a really hard time getting out of this. Gets hit by that shoulder charge, but the Ivy is going to airlift them right on out of there. Gets dropped off a little early, though, and the Apollo is able to clean up house.
Yeah, curious drop there, but maybe just thought that the Apollo would find the flawless advance mid-air, which was very close to doing. So, and yeah, Ivy ult, again, having no startup time whatsoever is a big change there, and just lets escapes like that happen if you're not very careful about it. But that time, UNL do get the punish anyway. So we've got 4 members here on the left side just looking for any invades that they can with 30 seconds to the bridge buffs.
Yeah, UFT are going to be really hard-pressed to move them away from this left side bridge buff, and even when we're looking at the right-hand side, there is a lot of prio here for UNL, so you already see the Paradox starting to make moves, getting towards that bounce pad, potentially even going to head on over. The Drifter going in, nice parry there from Stylar, getting a lot of damage on the Abrams, but he's still able to survive for now. There's going to be the movement buff flames for him as well, and be a full-on retreat.
You're just happy to get away there if you're Neptic. As you said, great parry from Stylar, and then the rest of UNL has to come in to cover that. And now it's a big brawl over here on the left side. Johnny leading the charge so far.
Yep, the Urn is going to get picked up pretty fast for UNL. But the Kelvin is, willing to, for now at least, to use it here as bait. The Arctic Beam does come out, but it's going to take a lot of burst damage from the Calico. Burns the parry early, going to give them a lot more confidence when it comes to dealing that damage. There's going to be a first takedown here for Fractal. And now with the Urn still at play, they could take things further. Abrams getting dropped down to low HP, gets caught out a little bit. But with the shoulder charge there onto the Calico, gonna force her onto a retreat.
Big plays there from UNL, being able to turn that around onto Fractal, who, as you said, is gonna be on that Calico. Just really being a nuisance in all of that, but not able to finish off the kill onto Neptic, so Arctic, I think, was the only casualty there for UNL, so kind of a one-for-one trade, and they still have Urn control. So far, things generally working out for them, but we're still within 4K here in the early game, so even, as I say, that drops to 3. Very close game so far.
Yeah, UFT are trying to make that rotate over, but it doesn't look like they're going to make it over to the Urn in time. The drop-off does go uninterrupted, but now UFT, they've already sent all 6 members over. They're going to see if they can make anything happen. Nisquick is forced to get out, including using the Traveler here, and now Kelvin is running away for dear life. UNL need to disengage, but they're drawing this fight out further.
Got a lot of sustain tools with the Kelvin. Strombo wins the 1v1 on the left side. He's going to have a free walker for this. And now the Kelvin Dome keeps everybody alive for UNL. 2 picks, Streamline falling as well. And a nice Paradox swap onto the Bebop. Forces Big Fat B into a fight that he really doesn't want to be in. Jump pad is not safety with the Paradox Sunken. You like this, and this is just cleanup here for University of Nebraska. As they get a Walker, they get 3, maybe 4 kills coming out of this. This is a great fight for them early game, and that'll put them solidly in the lead.
Yeah, just an absolute disaster fight for U of T. It really was theirs to lose. Showing up late to the urn, still deciding to dedicate yourself to that fight, being up one member, being there 6v5, and still, to be quite frank, blowing it. You lose the Mirage really early, has to Traveler out on to defend the other Walker, where they get taken down by the Venator. You have the Ice Dome getting dropped down on your Yamato, isolating them and having them taken down in that 1v3 or 1v4 in the Dome. It could have been a lot better.
Yeah, to say the least. And while UNL have been getting the advantage in these fights little by little, they've also been creeping up in the objectives. You see, they've still got 2 Guardians available, and I mean, we just saw they took a Walker, so plenty of extra space on the map for them to continue farming as we reach about the point where the center sacrifices, if they were taken quickly, will start to respawn. As we see UNL once again being active on the map, taking those as soon as they come up. Toronto, though, looking for something here on the right side, might catch out sometime, and a Guardian.
You know, the Telekinesis here comes out just to try and dissuade them further, but the Wraith is going to get engaged on deeper. The card trick is able to send them up onto the high ground, but they're going to be taken down by a delayed detonation. And yeah, there they go. They raise that Walker, they get some of those Sinners, get those juicy camps on that side of the map, and we're starting to make up some of that soul dance.
Just a little bit of it, but every comeback soul is extra value. Shromo on this Venator at 16k. It's not even Sometime who's being the focus for all of these souls. It's just Shromo sitting over here in this left side lane, making sure that last Guardian doesn't go down, and being a real menace here. Meanwhile, Yamato Dreamline gets caught out. Does a lot of damage to the Paradox, but not enough to survive a 1v3.
Yeah.
University of Toronto, once again, kind of forced to sit back for a moment.
It does always feel like whenever U of T, they're trying to make a play, they're trying to get out on the map, they're trying to be active. UNL, they just read them better. They're always there buddied up, and they're able to really execute well. Now, we do have the urn respawning here. It's going to be a comeback urn for U of T. I'm really hoping that they're able to get this, because that is, you know, your main way to come back into this game.
Yeah, but UNL know that as well. It's why you see 4 of them on the right side. UT also there in equal numbers, now bringing over the Drifters. This could turn into a big fight, but the Eternal Knight could get some great value as long as they don't lose Yamato early.
Yeah, the airdrop there was used pretty early and aggressively, but now we have the Yamato popping into their ultimate form. Paradox gets dropped down to really low HP, is going to be the playing into the fight. Paradox gets dropped down, the Itani Losan comes through inside of the shelter, is going to take down the Yamato eventually, but now Avram's stuck at 1 HP, is going to fall, and the Kelvin as well. Calico gets traded out. It's a bloody fight, but now we see Cloud having to make a run for it. We have U of T chasing them down, and that's one of your big soul swings.
I think this is the first time I can decisively say that UNL made a mistake in that fight, because they had Wraith solo pushing the mid lane to get this this Walker here, and there was nobody from U of T who really could have come to contest that. So instead, Sometime goes off to the right, farms a little bit, and then tries to come to the fight, and both Sometime and Shromo are too late to really have much of an impact. So kind of just a free Walker there that isn't realized. Maybe they thought there was still one person from University of Toronto who could come and contest it, but and that'll bring U of T back into this game pretty solidly, especially with a pick here onto Shromo, who at 18k will have an extra long respawn coming in here. It's now completely evened things up, and they've even got a Guardian.
Yeah, it just feels really uncharacteristic from Shromo, seeing them overextended so far. They were all the way past the midpoints onto that right-hand lane, but now we see UNL, they're trying to make a play. They're trying to recuperate some of their losses there, but the airdrop is able to lift them away from trouble. But now we see there are still a lot of neutral objectives left on this map, so I wouldn't be surprised if both of these teams, you know, decided to go onto their own and reconvene in a minute or two once buffs have come back in Mirror.
Not a whole lot to fight on right now. As you said, just those neutral objectives. A lot of tier 3s hanging around.
Yep.
Doubles here for University of Nebraska. That'll be the focus for them for sure here. The only thing University of Toronto are still missing is that extra flex slot, but not a whole lot of them going to be pressured on that. Big Fat B really the only one with all slots filled out for them. And start to see some of the builds really taking shape here. It's very even split for both these teams between the gun and the spirit damage at this point.
Yeah, I think one thing that really does surprise me is Johnny opting into the it's not called Backstabber, Stalker. The Stalker Headhunter Ivy. I have heard really big things about Spirit Ivy this patch, but maybe there's, you know, a certain vision here, and probably to do with the damage split that they have on the team, favoring a bit more heavy into Spirit, you know, making those adjustments on the fly. But yeah, a lot of pressure here is on Misclicked to perform, you know, being the sole leader on the team, being the primary DPS, the primary sustained damage. There are really big expectations to come with that.
At 21k, he's still performing up to that so far. Stromer the only one his equal. But we did see him falling behind a couple times there, right? Losing multiple 1v1 losses to that Venator. He fell behind a bit, but after that one big fight, kind of brought them back into things. And UNL, once again, getting a pick. It feels like every time we've been looking on the map, it's been UNL being active in getting these kills. Whereas, you know, with the comp, I kind of expected University of Toronto to be the ones doing that, with the amount of ambush that they have on the team.
And historically, U of T have also just always been an early game leading team, so it is really flipping things on their head to see them get put into a position like this, but there is still a lot of scaling threat from both of these teams, so if you're a fan of either of them, I wouldn't really quite bring this in quite yet.
No, it's very even. I mean, even the soul count is at 1 of 6 apiece.
Oh yeah.
I mean, University of Toronto, so far, I feel like with a slightly better soul allocation, UNL, I really feel like this race should be getting a little bit more of the farm for them than the Venator, but they probably have different ideas about the patch, and that's okay. We see Drifter starting to get some revenge onto Apollo, and UNL have set up very nicely for this left side buff. University of Toronto, though, looking to fight over it, because that's also the side where the Urn will be spawning.
Yeah, we do see the chimes from the airlift coming out early. There's going to be the Ivy trying to find an angle. Not quite going to start an engage here. I think the UNL have learned very well from last time is we've got our objective, we've got our buff, let's try and get out. Although they do spot a lone member here from UFC Dreamline, gets caught out again and not even able to retaliate. It's going to be a swap and Ice Cage onto Fractal.
Feels like it's been Dreamline getting the worst of all these picks for most of the game, and University of Toronto trying to make up for that with the Hyper Beam and everyone else coming in, but now you might just be getting caught even further as Mirage gets hit with Itani Lo-san. Apollo trying to finish off this kill, but a gun buff Mirage is not one to trifle with, even though the rest of his team is falling around him, so they will eventually clean up that kill. It's a full team wipe for UNL. They'll get a Walker and go mid-boss as well.
Yep, 20 minutes, it's mid-boss time, and UFT to get completely wiped at this stage in the game is quite unfortunate. Although also the card trick going wide with that newly reworked telekinesis is able to spit the Yamato out further away. There's a 9-second cooldown here, the Yamato and the Calico now are really trying to collapse on here at this rate.
I'll try and find something before these rejuves come in. Fractal looking for something, gets a parry! Doesn't manage to get a rejuve though. UNL a little too quick on it. I mean, good try. But Fractal just not quite able to find anything there, and Misclick still on respawn as well. UNL have a really solid shot at this Urn, and then following it up with some objectives.
Yeah, UFT, they're gonna... even if they do want to fight this, I don't think that they're really in a position to, at least. And there is still a lot of souls sitting in all of these people's inventories, right? These walkers have stood strong for oh so long, so now we see one getting raised for UNL. this is going to, you know, relieve a lot of pressure on their wallets, and they're also going to be able to really spend most of that newly acquired 20k soul lead.
Yeah, again, taking a look at the builds here. Glass Cannon already online for Stromo. As well as the Hollow Point, and got a good amount of nades going as well between the Rapid Recharge and the Charging Rush, so plenty of damage available for him. As we see the AP there, really focusing on the nades and the ultimate, as you would expect with more of a gun damage-oriented build. Not going for that melee. Cloud with Mystic Reverb, that's a very tanky Apollo going on there, and I think the University of Toronto seems to be in order as well, with kind of about what you'd expect on most of these heroes. As you said, a little odd to not be seeing the Spirit from Johnny's Ivy. Going for Alchemical Fire rather than something a bit more kudzu related, but the Mystic Slow does come in, at least.
Yep.
As University of Toronto will just try and play defensive for the remainder of these rejuves.
We've lost about half of this time so far, only 2 minutes remaining. UNL don't seem too eager. They're not feeling what you would call like the rejuve pressure. You know, we got 2 minutes left of this. We have this buff. Let's go, go, go. They're opting in instead to take their time. They're going to, you know, farm up their camps, make sure everyone hits their soul spikes, and I would expect for them to potentially regroup and try to fight over this midwalker.
Midwalker's one of those notoriously difficult objectives to push. Kind of the bunker hill of a lot of teams where you just send a lot of people at it and you might eventually take it, but you lose a lot in the process.
Yep.
We'll see them start to set up for that, as you said. University of Toronto, though, well aware of it, and they've got the Mirage doing Mirage things there on the right. Trying to make this an uneven fight, or take a walker either way. See if University of Toronto can hold.
Yeah, they did get forced off of their high ground. Shadow Transformation comes out from the Yamato, but it's not going to be able to save her, not for long at least. And, you know, with that pick on the board, it's going to be even harder here to defend Paradox. Does get dropped down to low HP. She make an attempt at a swap. Now the trap here onto the Drifter. There's not going to be too much that can be done to save him. The parry comes through, but eventually he does blow up. And elsewhere off the screen, the Bebop does too. Venator gets dropped down to low HP behind that Shroud, but nobody there to finish the job as Fractal gets their head taken off by that Blessed Stake. And UNL, they're now marching in towards the space.
Misclicked has done a lot of work here on the side lane, got the Walker, and at least traded that out. Trading out the base Guardians as well would be a big boon here, but not worth losing your life over if you're U of T, as you're about to start losing Shrines as well. So Misclick will use the Traveler to get back in here fast, see if they can do anything. But this is UNL in a pretty decisive advantage at this point in the game, up about 30,000 souls. You gotta start to wonder how University of Toronto can bring this back, if they'll be able to bring it back.
Yeah, it's a pretty good respawn timer there from U of T. They're able to come back before the Patron was downed. So it does give them a little bit more breathing room here if they do take another fight loss. It could provide them with another opportunity to come back. Now, UNL, they're opting to play things safe. Once you're, again, in this advantageous position, you don't want to risk it. You want to play safe, you want to play your advantage, and it really falls on U of T here to make these big, bold, brash plays and try and find some of these picks here.
And at the same time, you don't want to give too much opportunity for the other team to come back, and that's why we're seeing them collapse here on this urn. Things starting to break out. All of UNL are coming in here, whereas U of T still missing their Mirage with no Traveler available, and that means this 5v6 will start out with UNL getting a pick onto Johnny's Ivy. Dreamlion also in some trouble. Telekinesis comes in. That'll about seal the Yamato's fate. Even the Shadow Transformation not going to be enough there. Once again, this Yamato having a bit of a struggle game. Fortunately, Styler will get away with the urn and at least secure some souls before the Patron goes down.
Yeah, a bit of coin for your trouble here, but U of T are going to be very hard pressed here to defend this space now. They do have some ultimates left in the bag. They do have the Hyper Beam from the Bebop, getting some solid damage out, especially when maxed. But it is going to eventually get dropped down to the ground by that Phantom Strike. Everyone's not quite able to finish the job here. As the UNL, they're playing aggressively, they're going for this finish, and they have the Ice Gauge drop.
And That's just down to half HP, means that UFT do have an opportunity here. They get a pick, they get a second one onto Arctic. Things turning around here. UNL maybe just stayed a little too long, too aggressive. And now they're only ahead by about 20,000 souls, but Patron Knocked is a solid advantage in the game. It means that any fight that UFT loses could be their last.
Yep.
So they're trying to find these exit kills. Sometime a decent bit of trouble, but they're just so far ahead that UFT are struggling to bring anyone down, although Strobo not quite agreeing with that statement.
Yeah, the Venator often struggles really with mobility, and especially there you can see it showcased. A 70-second respawn timer left for them. Mid-boss coming up in 30 seconds. Although they do have a lot of members that are coming back in time, it does make you wonder, are they going to be able to get the Kelvin in there? Is he going to have Ice Dome by the time that UFT decides to take this mid? It seems like rather right now they're, instead of opting to spend a lot of that cash, they started to make up for that soul deficit.
Curious if UFT will even go for this one. They're only up one, down about 10,000 souls. It does seem like they're hovering around it, but UNL will be aware of this as soon as it happens, with Cloud here scouting things out. So this could be a very decisive fight here if UFT will get the comeback with 3 rejuves, or if UNL can finish this off here in game 1. Nice try from Bebop there. Not quite going to connect though. So this is going to be the fight that really decides this match, I feel.
Yeah, we see Misclick there out on the side lane. Mirage is going to TP in a little bit late. But now we see already a decisive pick here onto Dreamline. Gets taken down before they can even use the Shadow Transformation. It's going to be a big brawl on top of it. It's going to be 2 rejuves taken for UNL and only 1 for UFT. They're going to lose this fight pretty handedly. Misclick doesn't even TP in. And that spells the end of the game.
Yeah, 2 lanes pushed up to the base already. It's that's about it. As you said it, Misclick didn't TP in, and then Dreamline again getting picked at the start of this fight. It seems to have been kind of the story of the game, with University of Toronto just getting picked off time and time again, and especially this Yamato, not been in the meta for a decent bit as much as the other tanks, and maybe this time Dreamline showing us exactly why that is.
Good game.
I mean, okay, to be fair though, being behind as a tank, especially when you're not as inherently tanky as other characters on the Yamato, it definitely does not feel great. At certain points we're down 10k, maybe 15k on some of those DPS characters, and yeah, you're gonna melt like butter when there's that much of an advantage going up against you. It's just how it is sometimes. When I look at the rest of it, though, I mean, UFT were able to really start to bring it back, and they had some really good fights, but it just seemed that at all stages of this game, UNL were pretty comfortably in that driver's seat. They were making the correct reads, making the good plays, and even when they staggered, they were able to come back from it.
Yeah, UNL seemed to always be on the same page in this match. Key players here, according to the match stats, we got Woody Seth on the Paradox and Cloud on the Apollo, who I did feel was putting in a lot of work, but for me it was Strobo on the Venator, who was just constantly a nuisance. Even if they didn't get the big splashy plays in teamfights, they're just always holding their own, always forcing pressure onto them from the University of Toronto, and kind of forced out some of the resources that let the rest of UNL clean up afterwards. And then misclicked on this Mirage, of course, getting farmed, as always, but not quite able to bring things back when the rest of his team was so underfed comparatively. As this time, UNL will go up 1-0 in the series, but as this is only best of 2, just getting the points on board for the playoffs, no tiebreakers here, University of Toronto can always bring things back and tie this one up.
Yeah, there is still an opportunity for them. Both of these teams are sitting pretty comfortably in the middle of their group. UNL actually sitting in the 2nd place, UFT at 3rd, and yeah, the match is more of a formality between them, as their spacing, their positioning in the group does seem pretty locked in as it is now. So I mean, still reflecting on what occurred that last match, I feel like some of that thunder was missing from UFD. They had those early game lanes. They had that bombastic mid lane where we had the Yamato and the Bebop. They had some good early game picks, but then the Apollo was just running laps around them, going in there, getting those deep boxes. It really felt like they struggled.
Yeah, I was hoping that U of T would play with a little bit more tempo. You know, go for those bebop hooks, rotate the Ivy in, use Mirage as the split pusher, and maybe just a little bit too passive there for them. They felt like they were always reacting to what UNL were doing. About the only time I can think they were acting on their own agenda was like really early on. They had that nice gank onto Stromo on the right side. They took a Guardian and took a life, so I mean that worked out for them, but then they just weren't able to continue that on into the rest of the game, and they also never really had the resources to be able to stand up in big team fights like that mid-boss. I mean, even if Misclicked was there, it didn't feel like U of T had good resources for it. Kind of a lack of team fight ultimates. I guess from both sides, it was really just like the Kelvin Dome in the entirety of the draft that had any sort of big AoE team fight ability. So, kind of interested to see if that'll stay true for the second draft.
Yeah. There is going to be a lot riding on that. I feel like we're definitely going to see some of that ban priority shift around, as there are just certain things that you would not be able to execute the same way without, say, that paradox, right? So I would potentially foresee that ban coming about. Other than that, really, probably the biggest difference that we're going to see is mostly in, you know, what heroes are selected to make up these comps.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some refinement to be had from either side. Some heroes working a lot better than others. Even, honestly, as well as Stromo did on the Venator, I feel like they could have had a bit more impact in those big fights. And so, there's, you know, it's a new patch. Everybody's still getting used to it. But that is only the first game of this series. We've got another one coming up. And then after this matchup gets done between UNL and the University of Toronto, we've got another one coming up for you afterwards. But for now, we'll see if University of Toronto can bring things back and make it a 1-to-1 series after this break.